Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt underappreciated, unheard, or surgé? Have you ever given your all to people who barely noticed your worth? If so, today's message is for you. In life, one of the most important lessons you can learn is to recognize your own value. Too often, people spend their time trying to prove themselves to others, seeking validation, approval, and acceptance from those who may never truly appreciate them. But the truth is, your worth is not determined by how much others acknowledge you. It is not defined by how many people choose to stay in your life or how often they praise you. Your worth exists independently of anyone's opinion. When you truly know your worth, you stop tolerating mistreatment. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop giving endless chances to those who continue to take advantage of your kindness. And knowing your worth means understanding that you do not need to beg for attention, respect, or love. It means realizing that the right people will see your value without you having to constantly prove it to them. Many times people fail to recognize their own value because they have been conditioned to believe that they must always give, always compromise, and always be the one to fix everything. But this is a dangerous mindset. The more you allow yourself to be undervalued, the more others will continue to take you for granted. You must break the cycle. You must remind yourself that you are not just an option, a convenience, or an afterthought. You are someone who brings value, strength, and meaning to those around you. The moment you understand your worth, everything changes. You start making decisions that align with your self-respect. You start walking away from people and situations that drain you. You stop feeling the need to over-explain yourself, to prove yourself, or to convince others to see your importance. You begin to realize that the people who truly matter will never need constant reminders of your value. They will see it, appreciate it, and respect it from the start. Silence is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools you possess. In a world where everyone is quick to react, to defend, and to explain, silence can be your greatest strength. It is a language of its own, one that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. When you choose to stay silent, you take control of the situation. You refuse to engage in unnecessary arguments. You protect your peace, and you force others to reflect on their actions. Silence unsettles people. It disrupts their expectations. When someone is used to you always responding, always explaining, always fighting for them to see your perspective, your silence becomes deafening. It forces them to wonder what has changed. It makes them rethink their actions and decisions. They begin to realize that something is different, not because you told them, but because you showed them. There is a reason why silence is often associated with strength and wisdom. The most powerful people in the world do not react impulsively to every situation. They know when to speak, but more importantly, they know when to say nothing at all. When you remain silent, you allow the other person to feel the weight of their own words and actions. You give them space to miss you, to regret, to wonder, and to question themselves. Many people believe that speaking louder or explaining more will get them the understanding or respect they crave, but often the opposite is true. The more you explain, the more you open yourself up to manipulation. The more you react, the more you show that you are emotionally invested in their validation. But when you stay silent, you remove their power over you. You show that you are not desperate for their attention or their approval. Silence also gives you clarity. Instead of wasting energy on meaningless confrontations, you redirect that energy toward yourself. You observe. You analyze. You regain control over your emotions and your decisions. It is in silence that you truly understand who values you, respects you, and who only wanted you when you were constantly giving and proving yourself. People often fail to appreciate what they have until it is no longer there. This is a truth that applies to relationships, friendships, workplaces, and even personal achievements. When something or someone is always available, always present, and always giving, it becomes easy to take them for granted. But the moment that presence is withdrawn, its value becomes clear. Absence has a way of revealing the truth. When you step back from people who have taken you for granted, they begin to notice what they have lost. The comfort they once felt knowing you would always be there suddenly disappears. The certainty they had in your presence begins to fade, and they are left with a void they never expected. It is in that void that they begin to reflect on what you truly meant to them. Many times people do not recognize the effort, love, and sacrifices you make for them until they are forced to live without them. When you are always available, always answering their calls, always fixing problems, always showing up, they may start to see your efforts as an expectation rather than a gift. But when you remove yourself from the equation, when you stop giving your time and energy so freely, they begin to realize just how much you contributed to their lives. This is why stepping back is sometimes necessary, not as a game or a manipulative tactic, but as a way to protect your energy and demand the respect you deserve. If people do not value your presence, let them experience your absence. If they fail to appreciate your kindness, let them feel the emptiness that follows when it is no longer there. Absence also tests relationships. Those who truly care about you will not wait until you are gone to show their appreciation. They will recognize your value even when you are present. But those who only notice you when you leave were never truly invested in you to begin with. They were only comfortable in your presence, not committed to it. By stepping away, you give people the opportunity to understand your importance. You give them space to miss you, to reflect, and to possibly correct their behavior. If they truly care, they will make the effort to bring you back into their lives with a newfound respect and appreciation. And if they don't, you will know that your absence only revealed a truth that was already there. You were never truly valued in the first place. One of the biggest mistakes people make is chasing those who show little to no effort in return. Whether it's in friendships, relationships, or professional connections, constantly pursuing someone who does not value your presence is a path to disappointment and exhaustion. The truth is, the right people, the ones who truly care about you, will never need to be begged to stay in your life. Chasing after people is a sign of imbalance. It means that you are putting in more effort than the other person, trying to convince them of your worth, or proving why they should value you. But the reality is, love, respect, and loyalty should never be forced. If someone genuinely cares about you, they will meet you halfway. They will make the effort to keep you in their life because they recognize your importance. When you chase people, you give them the upper hand. You show them that they can treat you however they want, and you will still be there, seeking their approval, their time, or their affection. This creates a dynamic where they no longer feel the need to put in any effort because they know you will always be the one trying to make things work. Over time, this weakens your self-worth and leaves you feeling unfulfilled. Think about this. Have you ever noticed that the more you chase someone, the further they pull away? It is human nature to undervalue what is always available and overvalue what is scarce. When you make yourself too accessible, people stop appreciating your presence. But when you step back and stop chasing, you shift the dynamic. You allow them to realize whether they truly want you in their life, or if they were simply enjoying the attention and effort you were giving without reciprocation. Stopping the chase does not mean you do not care. It means you care enough about yourself to stop begging for love, attention, or respect that should be freely given. It means recognizing that if someone is not willing to invest in you the way you invest in them, then they are not meant to be in your life. It is about understanding that real relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, are built on mutual effort, not one-sided pursuit. When you stop chasing, you also allow space for the right people to enter your life. Instead of wasting your energy on those who do not appreciate you, you can focus on those who see your worth from the start. You create an environment where only those who genuinely value you will remain. And those who do not, they will simply fade away, making room for better, more meaningful connections. In a world filled with empty promises, exaggerated words, and constant explanations, actions remain the only true measure of intent. People can say anything, but it is what they do that truly defines them. This is why letting your actions speak for you is far more powerful than words alone. When you stop explaining yourself, stop justifying your worth, and stop seeking validation through conversations, you allow your presence or absence to make the strongest statement. Too often, people waste time trying to prove themselves to others. They argue, explain, and try to make someone understand their value. But the truth is, if someone truly values you, you won't have to constantly explain yourself. If they truly respect you, they will see it in your actions. And if they do not, no amount of talking will make them change their perception. Your energy is precious, and wasting it on convincing someone of your worth is a battle you should never have to fight. Instead of explaining, show them. Instead of begging, withdraw. Instead of talking, act. When people start to see a shift in your behavior, when they notice that you no longer tolerate disrespect, that you no longer chase after them, and that you are no longer available at their convenience, they begin to understand what they have lost. Your silence, your absence, and your refusal to engage in meaningless conversations will make a far bigger impact than any words ever could. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you tried to reason with someone who constantly disrespected or ignored you? Did your words truly change anything? Or did they continue to act the same way despite all your explanations? The reason is simple: words alone do not create change. It is only when you take action by distancing yourself, by refusing to engage, and by walking away from situations that no longer serve you, that people start to take notice. Letting your actions speak also applies to how you treat yourself. If you constantly talk about self-respect but allow people to mistreat you, your words lose meaning. But if you set clear boundaries, if you refuse to tolerate disrespect, and if you prioritize your own well-being, people will see that you mean what you say. They will recognize that you are not someone who can be taken for granted. People remember how you made them feel, not what you told them. When they see that your absence brings discomfort, that your silence forces them to reflect, and that your actions align with your self-worth, they will have no choice but to respect you. And if they don't, then you will know that they were never truly meant to be in your life. Reflection is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. When people are forced to sit with their own thoughts, without distractions, without explanations, and without your presence constantly reassuring them, they begin to see things in a different light. This is why stepping back and allowing people to reflect on their own actions is far more effective than arguing, pleading, or trying to make them understand through words. Many people do not realize the impact of their behavior until they are given the space to truly think about it. As long as you are present, explaining yourself, trying to fix things, or continuously making efforts to gain their respect, they have no reason to reflect. They do not feel the loss because you are still there, providing them with your time, energy, and emotional investment. But the moment you remove yourself from the equation, everything changes. Silence creates discomfort. It forces people to confront the reality of their actions without you filling in the gaps or giving them reassurance. They start to wonder why you are no longer reaching out, why you are not reacting the way you used to, and why their words no longer have an effect on you. This discomfort is necessary because it makes them see things from a perspective they have never considered before. For those who have taken you for granted, your absence will be a wake-up call. They will start to notice the little things they never appreciated: the way you always listened, the way you always supported them, the way you always cared. When you were constantly available, they had no reason to reflect on what life would be like without you. But when you step back, when you remove your presence from their life, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts, and in that silence, they begin to see the truth. This process of reflection is crucial because it separates those who truly value from those who are only benefiting from your presence without reciprocating it. Some will realize their mistakes and take responsibility, making a genuine effort to change. Others will simply miss the comfort you provided but still refuse to treat you with the respect you deserve. In both cases, you gain clarity. You see who is willing to put in the effort to make things right and who only regrets losing the benefits you brought to their life. When you force someone to reflect, you also shift the balance of power. No longer are you the one trying to make things work, trying to fix misunderstandings, or trying to make them see your worth. Now the burden is on them to recognize what they have lost and decide whether they are willing to correct their behavior. And in that moment, they will have to ask themselves a very important question: Was this person truly valuable to me? If the answer is yes, they will find a way to make things right. If the answer is no, then you will know that your absence only revealed the truth that was there all along. Respect is not something you should ever beg for. It is something that should be freely given to you by those who truly value you. The way people treat you is a direct reflection of how much they respect you. And if you find yourself constantly being disrespected, overlooked, or taken for granted, it is time to demand the respect you deserve. Not through words, not through arguments, but through your actions. Many people make the mistake of tolerating disrespect because they fear losing certain relationships. They believe that if they continue to be patient, to explain themselves, or to prove their worth, the other person will eventually recognize their value. But in reality, the more you tolerate disrespect, the more you teach people that it is acceptable to treat you that way. Every time you ignore mistreatment, every time you excuse someone's bad behavior, you are sending the message that they can continue to disrespect you without consequences. Demanding respect does not mean being aggressive, rude, or confrontational. It simply means setting clear boundaries and refusing to tolerate anything less than what you deserve. It means walking away from people who belittle you, who take advantage of you, or who only value when it is convenient for them. It means showing through your actions that you will not lower your standards just to fit into someone else's life. One of the most powerful ways to demand respect is to remove yourself from situations where you are not valued. When someone disrespects you and you choose to stay silent, to step back, and to let your absence speak for itself, they are forced to reconsider their behavior. They will either adjust their actions to meet your standards, or they will continue on without you proving that they never truly respected you to begin with. Either way, you win. People respect those who respect themselves. If you carry yourself with confidence, if you refuse to engage in unnecessary arguments, and if you do not tolerate mistreatment, others will naturally begin to see you in a different light. They will realize that you are not someone who can be manipulated, taken for granted, or disrespected without consequence. This applies to every area of life: relationships, friendships, workplaces, and even family dynamics. The moment you start demanding respect, you will notice a shift in how people treat you. Some will step up and meet your standards, while others will fall away. And that is exactly how it should be, because those who genuinely care for you will never have a problem treating you with the respect you deserve. When you step back, stay silent, and refuse to chase after people who took you for granted, something interesting happens. They begin to realize what they lost. The same people who ignored you, mistreated you, or undervalued you will start to feel your absence in ways they never expected. They will begin to regret the way they treated you, and for the first time, they will truly understand your worth. Human nature is predictable. People often fail to appreciate what they have when it is always available. They assume that you will always be there, always giving, always forgiving, and always trying to make things work. But the moment you take that away, the moment you stop calling, stop explaining, stop making an effort, they are left to deal with the emptiness that follows. And that emptiness forces them to reflect. At first, they may not even notice that you are gone. They may assume you are just taking a break, or that you will eventually come back just like you always have. But as time goes on and you continue to remain silent, they will start to feel the weight of your absence. The comfort of knowing you were always there is now gone, and suddenly they feel unsettled. They start wondering why you are no longer reaching out, why you are no longer making an effort, and why their usual tactics no longer work on you. This is when the desperation begins. Some people will try to test you, sending a message just to see if you will respond. Others will try to provoke you, hoping to get any kind of reaction, even a negative one, just to prove that they still have some control over you. But when they are met with silence, when they see that their words no longer hold power over you, their desperation will only grow. They will start to miss the little things they once took for granted: the way you always listened, the way you supported them, the way you cared even when they did not deserve it. They will compare you to others and realize that no one else treats them the way you did. And when they finally understand what they have lost, they will come back. Some will apologize. Some will try to justify their behavior. Some will beg you for another chance. But by the time they realize your worth, the question is no longer whether they want you back, it is whether you still want them in your life. Because by then, you will have grown, you will have healed, you will have built a life where your peace and self-respect are your top priorities. And those who once ignored you will have to face the painful truth they lost someone they should have never taken for granted. When you step back, stay silent, and refuse to chase after people who never truly valued you, you reclaim your power. You no longer waste your time proving your worth to those who were blind to it. Instead, you focus on yourself, on your growth, your peace, and your happiness. By the time they realize what they lost, you will have already moved on. Their regrets will no longer affect you, and their pleas will no longer have power over you. Because you will have learned the most valuable lesson of all. When you know your worth, you never have to beg for love, respect, or attention. So let them beg. Let them regret. Let them face the consequences of their actions. But as for you, walk away with confidence, knowing that you deserve better. The right people, the ones who truly see your value, will never need you to prove it to them. They will recognize it from the start. And those who didn't, they were never meant to stay in your life to begin with.